Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. On today's broadcast, the subject is an organization called Moms for America, which strives to publicize and encourage traditional values in America. The founder of the organization is Kimberly Fletcher. We asked her first a little bit about herself before moving on to the purposes in detail of this organization.
Well, we were founded in 2004 in a living room in Dayton, Ohio, with 26 women, and very quickly became a national membership organization with members in all 50 states because moms were hungering for some truth and direction. But it really took off in 2017 when a bunch of pink-hatted feminists descended on the United States Capitol in the most disgusting display of, I guess you would call, womanhood that I've ever seen, and it just mortified women all over the country. And then they just started flocking to us. And since then, we have grown exponentially, and we have become known as recognized as the fastest growing group of women, organization of women in the country. And our mission is to build a foundation of liberty in the homes of America through the mothers of America, because that is where liberty begins, in the home, and mothers are a powerful influence for good. So that is what we are about, but we also provide a voice of truth and reason and common sense in a nonsensical world on the political and cultural issues of our day. So it's great because it gives women, particularly mothers and grandmothers, a voice. But it also allows us to continue to share the light of liberty in our homes with our children and grandchildren.
Well, since you had a rally activity going on that same week, it seems like what your organization was doing that on the day you were there is in quite a contrast to what the nation and yea, even the world experienced by television, for instance, the following day.
Oh, absolutely. So we held our rally, Save the Republic rally, on Tuesday, between 1 and 3 in front of the Capitol. And that night, I spoke at the Freedom Plaza, where various organizations had shared the stage, including Stop the Steal. Moms for America is a partner organization, part of the coalition, if you will, of grassroots organizations that make up Stop the Steal movement. And I will tell you that when we got back to our hotels and we started watching the news, I mean, literally as it was happening, we're looking outside our hotel windows, and I could see the Capitol from my hotel, and I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm just like, what are they talking about? And they had just played the same video over and over and over again. And yeah, there was definitely stuff that happened at the Capitol that shouldn't have happened. But most of the people, like 99.9% of the people that were there, were just peaceably assembled, praying, singing, just walking around with flags and chanting USA. And I mean, they make it sound like the whole city was burning, and there was not any of that. In fact, all of us that were outside the Capitol had absolutely no idea what was going on inside the Capitol, and I didn't know until my husband called me. I was doing a live stream, and my husband called, and I just, declined the call, not because I don't love him, but because I was live streaming, and I was going to call him right back. So I get done with the live stream, I look at my phone, and I've got 3 back-to-back messages from him, text messages asking if I'm safe. And I'm like, what is he talking about? We're fine. So I called him and I said, honey, why are you asking me if I'm safe? And he said, they breached the Capitol. And I'm like, oh, baby, they didn't breach the Capitol. They're standing on the steps, the porch. That's not a good idea, but they don't know any better. And they're just sitting there singing. And all the gates were open and everything for them to go up there. And he's like, no, they're inside the Capitol. They're in Nancy Pelosi's chair. They're running through the halls. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And he said no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just played into their hands. What a setup. And I just couldn't believe it. And then my daughter pulled up on her phone. She was standing beside me, pulled up on her phone the news feed. And as she's reading through, we get an alert. And she's like, Mom, a woman has just been shot on the house side. We need to go. And I went back to my hotel just literally sobbing for our country. I knew what this meant and what they were going to turn it into. And there's this famous saying, never argue with an idiot because they'll drag you down to their level and win on experience. And a lot of a lot of patriots learned that lesson the hard way on Wednesday last week. And the thing is that I promise you that this was not us that started this, because we couldn't even get there. This was already going on at the Capitol before the president even finished his speech. And but you know what? When you have a year-long powder keg brewing, all you need is a spark to light it. So you've got these, Antifa, BLM infiltrators going, come on, let's go. And then they're like, yeah, let's go, it's our house, and then you see what happened.
Is it safe to say that as far as editing or choice of footage to run, it's a lot easier for editors, perhaps from your experience, at least in public, to say that noise and apparent disorder is the squeaky wheel that gets the attention of TV, radio, or newspaper people, as opposed to peaceful demonstrations such as you yourself normally are involved in?
Well, I would have to say it depends on who's doing it. I read an article by Rush Limbaugh the other day, or I guess it was from his show, where he made the most profound statement. It's no longer, we now live in a country where it's no longer about what we do, but who's doing it. So no matter how violent and out of control those who are trying to destroy the country get, the BLM, the Antifas, Occupy Wall Street, whoever they are, they're always peaceful protesters with justifiable causes. We sit down and sing Kumbaya, and we're racist terrorists. And so that's how we have been labeled for the last 4 years during the Tea Party. That's how we were labeled. We're racist, we're anarchists, you name it. And we've been called every name in the book, and all we are is ordinary, everyday Americans who just want to be able to go to church, run our businesses, and feed our kids. And the government is making it extremely difficult to do that. So I think, there are a lot of people who take the sound bites because, sensationalism is great, but it goes beyond that. In this case, it is literally about an agenda, and the media was just ready to leap on this. And I'm telling you, as fast as Mayor Bowser put out the extreme alert on everybody's cell phones at 149, I'm sorry, before anything, before the Capitol was even breached. It's like, wow, you guys were just so prepared for this. And I have a whole entire video that we just released where myself and two other organizers of the events of those 2 days talked about what we saw and what happened. And I'm telling you, the Capitol Police, they were not there. The security was not there. They were opening gates and letting people in. And by the time it got out of hand, it's like that's exactly what they wanted. And I want to warn people, because there's something coming that people really need to be aware of. There is a flyer that's circulating calling all, quote, patriots to come to the state capitals across the country armed with their weapons, with their guns, whatever, and to the nation's capital. That is not us. That is not us. And I'm telling you, I want to tell everybody out there, anyone who sees that, when those who are trying to destroy the country, when those who are doing evil, when you are doing what they want you to do, don't do it. You're falling into a trap, just like what happened in Washington, D.C. Learn from what happened in Washington, D.C. We do not have the media on our side. We do not have social media on our side. And doing things like them, it's not who we are, and it never works. Never works.
You made an interesting point just there, Kimberly. The coupling the social media and the media, meaning, I presume, publishing or communications companies together. In your view, does not plumping for journalism here on my part, but to ask you, is the country poor for its perception of itself when so much information is distributed by social media with no filtering or editing process going on, but merely thrown out there, and whoever picks it up and reads it can take it the way they want to or the way it seems to be in terms of the content?
I think that's the way it should be. Okay, yes. There's an enormous amount of information out there and a lot of questions and accusations flying specifically about these events. But some major things have happened this week that should put the fear of God in people. We should have multiple sources. We should be able to have multiple sources to go to. We should have platforms to be able to communicate and connect and decide for ourselves, based on all the information that we read, what the facts are to the best of our knowledge. Well, social media has just completely taken that away from us. People who were involved in putting these events together, who were involved in being at these rallies across the country for the last 9 weeks, they are being eviscerated. They're literally being erased. Their whole entire livelihood accounts are going after their businesses. They're shutting down all of their social media accounts. They're shutting down any opportunity for them to be, they're like their PayPal accounts and things like that, any way that people can monetarily function in their businesses. It's all being attacked. And I mean, example after example of moms who are reaching out to us. A mom in North Carolina, Facebook shut down her Facebook page, put her in prison for 23 hours, and it's now been over 36 hours for her bed and breakfast because she dared to question whether or not the election was secure. The results were correct. And you can't even question. So we are in a very, very, very difficult place in our country. And anyone who knows history and has read it knows where we are, and it's very scary.
In your view, in terms of getting your word out as a free American, describing how you feel about things, do you consider it therefore dangerous when companies like Amazon or the app stores decide to stop allowing apps to perform, or for companies that run servers to shut down, thereby taking Parler off the internet and unavailable completely?
Absolutely, and it's not just Parler. They're going after every possible competitor. They are literally trying to silence people. And there is a huge market. I mean, I'm telling you, there is a huge market, like half the country, all political persuasions, all ages, races, millennials too. There's a huge market for alternatives to those big tech giants who are trying to silence us. And this even has the ACLU commenting, and liberal feminist models and recording artists are coming out and saying, bridge too far. And so I think there's a major backlash on this. The problem is that a lot of the platforms like Amazon provide the infrastructure for a lot of these platforms to operate. So when Amazon, I mean, literally, not only did all of these tech companies shut down Parler, make it impossible for them to do business, but they just attacked the people who worked within. And it was bad. It was really bad. But I believe that Parler is going to come back, and the reason why I don't believe it, I know it, because there are investors coming out of the woodwork who are sick to death of this, who are saying we want to fund it, and there is a huge, massive market for Parler and any alternative to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of those companies that those few little people hold control of. We have freedom in our bones, and we're going to go where that freedom is.
You mentioned earlier the danger of things happening at the 50 state capitals around the country this next week. Where does that put an organization like you and the moms that are involved in it, as far as safety in terms of peaceful protests and so on, when other people, law enforcement perhaps, are concerned about the possible danger to people? We
have been telling everybody any platform that we have, on radio, on social media, we have just been blasting out there, stay home. Stay home until after the inauguration. Don't go anywhere. Don't go to any of these rallies. This is not us. If you really want to have an impact on our nation, then stay home, be with your families, and pray and fast. Fast and pray for our nation. If you really want to have an impact.
You've been listening to a conversation with Kimberly Fletcher, founder of Moms for America, founded in Dayton, Ohio. For further information about this organization, call us at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.